It's about people, performance, and purpose.
We are urging all nations to recognize the inherent right in the ocean.
Ocean governance concerns every one of us.
Take what you learned today with you.
We have the tools, we have the technology.
Let's end the ocean emergency.
Mas nós fazemos parte desse ambiente.
Our life source comes from the ocean, our oxygen, our water, our food.
We need to protect this ocean.
That responsibility has to be ours.
Welcome to the Ocean Race Summit's Good evening and welcome to the Ocean Race Summit. On behalf of the Ocean Race, we are truly thrilled to have you all here with us and to be in the UN for the very first time to present ocean rights. A very special welcome to our honorable guests in the room this evening, including Prime Minister, Your Royal Highnesses, Assistant Secretary General, Excellencies, and of course, all of you, our distinguished guests. And greetings to everyone online watching our live stream currently on UNTV. My name is Danny Washington, and I'll be your host this evening, and it's my distinct honor and pleasure to be here with you. For the past 2 decades, I've dedicated my life and career to the ocean as a TV host and science communicator. So I'm happy to be with you tonight for the grand finale of the Ocean Race Summits. And what better place than New York City, a bustling city on the edge of the ocean during the United Nations General Assembly. The summit is a culmination of much of the work that's happened all around the world about ocean rights. We've held 19 summits across 5 continents in this series, and we've hosted 7 innovation workshops called the Genova Process, thanks to 11th Hour Racing, our premier partner of the Ocean Race and the co-founder of the Ocean Race Sustainability Program. Tonight's event could not be possible without the support of our co-organizers, so big thank you to the Government of Cabo Verde, Earth Law Center, IUCN, and UNDP. Thank you. Tonight, I want you to imagine, just for a moment, a world where both people and nature thrive as one. A world where we can protect and restore our planet. A world where the ocean has rights just like you and I do. Because we need the ocean to survive. And right now, the ocean needs us to speak up and stand up. But we don't have to just imagine that world. We can create it. We can make it a reality, utilizing innovation, creativity, and collaboration. And we can help do that with the Universal Declaration of Ocean Rights, which you'll hear much more about tonight. Tonight, we will hear from policymakers and prime ministers, sailors and scientists, youth leaders, ocean advocates, and many, many more, all because we are joining in this wave of change to recognize the inherent rights of the ocean. The question is, will you join us? As we raced around the world, the Ocean Race sought to gather support from fans, followers, and the general public for ocean rights through our One Blue Voice campaign. Check out this short film and to see what it's all about.
Imagine a world where the ocean has rights, just like you and I. The right to freedom, security, and peace. The right to a healthy life. Imagine how different our blue planet could be if it was no longer treated as just a resource to relentlessly deplete, destroy, and pollute. And instead, we protected what remains and restored what's been lost, creating a new relationship where both nature and people thrive. Let's stop imagining and make it happen. We need to speak up with one global voice and call for a universal declaration of ocean rights that introduces a global approach to protecting the seas. The race is on for the ocean and our future. Together we can demand change.
I don't know about you, but I want to live in a world where the ocean has rights just like you and I. And together, we can inspire that wave of change. Now, before we continue our program, I want to let everyone know that in front of you, you have a headset that you can utilize. We will have several speeches tonight in several different languages. So if you'd like the English translation, you can use your headset. Just make sure it's on channel 1. Now, one of the people who have been instrumental in supporting the Universal Declaration of Ocean Rights is here with us in the room tonight from all the way across the Atlantic. It was my distinct pleasure to meet him in January when he graciously welcomed the ocean race to Cabo Verde for the very first stopover ever in ocean race history in Cabo Verde. I'm pleased to welcome His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Cabo Verde, Ulises Correa y Silva. Please welcome the Prime Minister.
Ladies and gentlemen,
commitment to the ocean and its sustainability and rights. Thank you for your presence here today. And for now, headphones are necessary for the translation. I'll continue my speech in Portuguese. Português is a nice language. O mundo vive uma...
The world is experiencing a serious crisis caused by climate change, the accelerated loss of biodiversity, and ocean pollution. The consequences are dramatic for humanity. That's why we need global dialogue and action to transform the way humanity relates to the ocean and manages activities with repercussions on the ocean. One way to do this is to explore the concept of ocean rights. Ocean rights means protecting real people and planet Earth. In this field, I would like to acknowledge our close cooperation with the Principality of Monaco, the invaluable partnership of the Ocean Race, the Earth Law Center of UNDP, IUCN, and other international partners. It is imperative that the ocean has an active voice. It must have a voice in the decisions we make that affect it. It is imperative that the ocean has a voice here at the UN and in the Organization of the United Nations and in each of our countries. I believe that by recognizing ocean rights, we are also strengthening human rights and economic rights. In Cabo Verde, we are working to position the Mindelo Ocean Center as an African regional platform for scientific dialogue and knowledge-making on issues related to the ocean, to atmosphere and climate change. I believe this will provide positive results in shaping new and better ocean policies. I would like to acknowledge the work we have been doing together with the Ocean Race, under the leadership of our president here present, Richard. The Mindelo leg of the boat race and the Ocean Race Summit were a success. From Cabo Verde, they allowed us to promote globally the principles that underpin the rights of the ocean. Cabo Verde and the Ocean Race developed a special partnership through a memorandum of understanding signed later today. This partnership seeks to promote ocean rights, the blue economy, and Cabo Verde as a tourist destination for water sports and ecotourism. I take
in Cabo Verde will be the stopover for the next edition of Ocean Race 2026-2027. And we are going to do it together, Richard, with a good partnership that we had the opportunity to show in January in Cabo Verde.
Excellencies, I urge all member states to get on board and support our joint mission to recognize the rights inherent in the ocean. Thank you very much.
Attention.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for your continued support of ocean rights. And it's very encouraging to know that Cabo Verde is forming policies based on ocean rights, and even more exciting that the race will be working with you in the future. Our next guest from Panama, a country that is making great strides and progress when it comes to nature's rights. Please welcome Her Excellency Yil Ortero, who's Vice Minister of Multilateral Affairs and Cooperation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Panama.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes a todos y todas. Dear colleagues and friends, it is an honor for me to participate in this important summit on behalf of the Republic of Panama. I want to thank the Ocean Race, Government of Cabo Verde, UNDP, IUCN, Earth Law Centra, and 11th Racing for organizing this event in a remarkable effort to promote new and improved policies for the ocean. Panama is a country that has a close relationship with the ocean, and for that reason, recognizes the critical importance of taking care of our ocean, or our seas and coasts. Our economy, culture, and way of life are intrinsically linked to the ocean. Our flag is one of the most used by merchant ships. Our canal is an interoceanic waterway that connects more than 140 countries and facilitates global trade and has made a green transition to remain fully open, operational, and at the avant-garde of the international maritime sector. Therefore, we are totally committed to the conservation of the ocean. We have based our public policies on SDG 14 to preserve the health of the ocean for present and future generations, and we have actively participated in regional and international initiatives to protect the marine environment, such as UNCLOS, the CBD, CITES, and others. As a nation, we took an important step towards the protection and conservation of nature by passing the law that recognizes the rights of nature and establishes the responsibilities of the state in relation to these rights. This decision reflects our commitment to the conservation of our natural ecosystem and the promotion of a sustainable balance between development and environmental preservation. Our initiatives fall within the scope of the proposed objectives for a possible universal declaration of ocean rights, as we believe that granting rights to the ocean is key to guaranteeing its future, recognizing its intrinsic value and its fundamental role for humanity. Panama's commitment to life on the planet is real, unequivocal, and forceful. This was most demonstrated when, at the beginning of the year, President Laurentino Cortizo Cohen announced the expansion of our marine protected areas from 30 to 54%, shielding an essential surface to protect marine fauna from human intervention, to protect the deep water environments of Panama and the Caribbean, as well as to maintain the connectivity of the migratory routes of oceanic and marine coastal species. The ocean needs international attention. Protecting it must remain a universal priority. In line with these efforts, Panama hosted the 8th edition of our Ocean International Conference in March of this year, in which more than 360 commitments for an approximate value of $22 billion were made for the ocean's health. The ocean is a shared heritage of humanity, and we are all, without exception, responsible for its care. Therefore, we call for action towards a universal declaration of ocean rights. I urge all nations to join in this historic effort, since together we can have and make a difference and ensure a sustainable future for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here tonight, Your Excellency, and showing us how other countries can follow your example when it comes to recognizing nature's rights. Now it's time to welcome another special guest. We couldn't have organized this summit without the UNDP, and we're so grateful for their support in this endeavor. I'd like to welcome to the stage Ulrika Modir, the UN Assistant Secretary General and Director of the Bureau of External Relations and Advocacy with UNDP.
Thank you, Danny, and not least thanks to the Ocean Race team for bringing us all together this rainy night in New York. We are at UNDP incredibly proud to be part of this Ocean Race effort and incredible work to make sure that we can really raise the profile of the crisis facing our oceans. But then, of course, as we say in UNDP, and when you walk across the street of the Secretariat, you will see that we actually speak about the future being hopeful, because we do believe that if we do this the right way, we can actually change the tide. And of course, we commend also the brave leaders that we have heard here in this room tonight, who are making change possible, really also creating the political momentum for the understanding what could be done differently. And I think also what we need to see in a world facing so much crisis and conflict, with such a lack of trust, that actually within the field of oceans, last year's Oceans Conference, but also the significant BBNJ outcome in June this year shows that actually oceans can bring us together. But of course, so much more to be done. We need really to extend, of course, the scale of marine protected areas to make the agreements reality. And we need to see to that fisheries can heal. We need to improve the management and the control of large-scale fisheries, and we must mitigate the destructive land-based practices of pollution, over-extraction, and habitat destruction, and of course the relation to the climate crisis that we're facing. And we need to make sure that policymakers can really draw on every community's aspirations and knowledge as we work to restore the relationship between people, water, and the oceans of our planet. Now, with regards to UNDP, United Nations Development Programme, present in 170 countries across the world, we are actually working every day in most parts of the world to make sure that we can support efforts to both preserve and restore critical marine ecosystems, healthy populations, and strengthen blue also economies. We are working for system solutions that makes it also possible for governments and other actors to come forward with these ideas and turn them into reality. We call this our Ocean Promise for a true global sustainable blue economy that really uses ocean resources sustainably to empower economic development and create jobs and livelihoods, but also then to increase food security, reduce poverty, and mainstream gender issues. This is a true holistic approach to how we work. We are now aiming to work in 100 coastal countries, including, of course, many of them being small developing states, to achieve and support the maximum potential of their blue economies through sustainable low emission and climate-resilient oceans use. This means that we would want to support, based on the practice across the world, mitigation of illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing, restoration of degraded marine ecosystems, and a focus on the connection between oceans and land-based activities, as I mentioned, as all of this is really linked. We also, of course, then want to make sure that we can uphold the rights of those most impacted by ocean resource degradation, not least in its communities. I also want to mention, and some of you must have seen, that we have something that we call our Ocean Innovation Challenge. We are incredibly proud of it, and if you haven't heard about it or seen it, please check online, because this is a very interesting way to look at how we can provide financing and mentorship to innovators within the field of oceans, to the creativity that we can unleash, and hopefully then to not only the transformational approaches, but also the scalable approaches that we could bring to the countries that we support. We also have the Global Fund for Coral Reefs, providing then also financial tools to de-risk and enable market-based investments in reef-positive conservation and climate adaptation solutions. So look at UNDP and oceans, and you will find a lot of solutions, but of course we would never be able to do this unless we had partnerships. So hence, the Goal 17 and everything all of us can do together will be incredibly important onwards. Thank you.
Now, you might be wondering what this shiny object behind me is. This gorgeous trophy is the Ocean Race Trophy that was won by 11th Hour Racing this year. So now, with that in mind, we want to share some of the work that happened earlier this year during the Ocean Race. From January to July, teams raced around the world. But it's not just sailing, right? This race is basically the Everest for sailors, a race that takes them to some of the most remote places on the planet, and a race that's often dubbed the toughest test of teamwork. But the Ocean Race is much more than just a sporting competition. We use our global platform to inspire and accelerate action to help restore ocean health. We do this through our joint work with 11th Hour Racing, a premier partner of the race and a co-founder of the Racing with Purpose program. This partnership has enabled award-winning science and education programs, as well as the Ocean Race Summits, including tonight's event. It's a showcase of how sports and sustainability can go hand in hand, and how data and science collected prove the ocean needs us more now more than ever before. So let's watch a short video to learn about the climate positive impact the Ocean Race has made.
We keep on pushing.
The data that's being collected in this race is really unique. We're seeing much higher concentrations of plastics.
The ocean emergency is a race we must win.
Together, we have actually changed the conversation.
It's our responsibility to get some things done.
Wasn't that an incredible video? So it's been an honor of a lifetime for me personally to be a part of an event that's focused so much on protecting and restoring the ocean. And as we navigate our way toward a regenerative future, we need strong leadership amongst our policymakers and business leaders. I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker, who is a catalyst for change by using his unique sports platform to reach the world. Please welcome the Ocean Race Chairman, Richard Brisius.
Friends of the ocean, coming here today on my bicycle amidst the skyscrapers and yellow cabs, I almost forgot that we are on an island and we are surrounded by the ocean. And speaking to one of the police officers outside, he said, "You're talking about the ocean? That's deep, man." And the ocean is deep, that's for sure, but it's full of amazing contrasts. And for the last 50 years, I've dedicated my life to the ocean and to the ocean race. And when I was 21, I raced around the world. And when I was 24, I did it a second time. And they say that if you do the ocean race once, you are brave. And if you do it twice, you are crazy. But the second time, I learned to trust the ocean. And a gray morning in the most remote part of the Southern Ocean, our boat suddenly got a big hole in the hull and we were sinking. And to add to the excitement, a hurricane rolled in over us. And at that point, we were truly at the mercy of the ocean. Long story short, 24 hours later, we had made an emergency repair and we could bail out all of the cold water in the boat and keep going. 2 weeks later, we limped into Australia. Worried families were waiting, and they learned that no news is good news in ocean racing. And I learned to trust the ocean. And over the years, I've also learned that every single person on Earth has two things in common. The most important people on Earth are your mother and your father. And the most important place on Earth is the ocean. Most recognize the first one at some stage in life, but most never realize that the most important place on Earth is the ocean, and that the ocean is climate, livelihood, oxygen, biodiversity, and the ocean is us. We are water. My brain is 75% water. Each one of you on average here, 45 kilos of water sitting on each chair. So the ocean is really the mothership that connects us all. And at the Ocean Race, our solution was to fully transform into a race for the ocean. And importantly, we are sport, and in sport we believe in fair play and rules. And the first rule in the rule book of sailing says that we shall give all possible help at any time to any competitor in danger. And we apply the same moral principle to the ocean. And that's why we are here today, working towards a universal declaration of ocean rights. And thanks to all experts involved around the world, and especially the Prime Minister of Cape Verde and your team, the Earth Law Center, IUCN, and valued reality checks with Ambassador Peter Thompson, and of course guided by your co-chair in Friends of Ocean Action, Isabella Lövin. And I want to underline that we can, of course, not give the ocean rights, because the ocean had its power, its place, and its rights long, long before we came. But we can, and we must, reset our relationship with the ocean and recognize the rights of the ocean. And by doing so, we will all benefit. If the ocean wins, we all win, as Wendy Schmidt says. So in closing, I ask you to do two things. Whoever you are and wherever you are doing, recognize the rights of the ocean. And secondly, whenever you can, speak up and tell people about the most important place on Earth, the ocean. And thank you very much to Prime Minister Cape Verde, because you are an ocean nation, and that's why we love your country more than ever, and we really look forward to come back, as you said. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Richard, for your ambitious and bold leadership. It's great to see how the race brings so many different stakeholders together for the greater good of the ocean and to be a catalyst for positive change. Now I'm pleased to introduce our next guest, who is an indigenous strategist and Pacifica lead of Niatero, a nonprofit working in solidarity with indigenous peoples to strengthen the guardianship of nature. Please welcome Paul Rowan.
Evening, everyone. I bring 3 gifts from the ocean. This is the first. We sweat and cry salt water, so we know that the ocean is truly in our blood. That first gift is from the eminent academic, poet, and spirited visionary, the late Teresia Teaiwa. Teresia was a fervent daughter of Banaba, an island in Kiribati. For almost a century, Banaba's phosphate deposits were mined to literally feed imperial appetites, providing fertilizer for the agricultural industries of the empire. And in so doing, Banaba's people were dispersed from their island to this day. The second gift stems from the late philosopher and the writer of Tonga, Epeliau Ofa, renowned for his seminal work, Our Sea of Islands. And he wrote, "Our ancestors dwelling in the Pacific for thousands of years perceived their world as a sea of islands, rather than islands in a sea. As Pacific Islanders, Oceania, in our worldview, signified a vast expanse of islands teeming with inhabitants, a world where the sea was not a barrier, but a tapestry of opportunities for exploration, habitation, and the nurturing of generations of seafarers. As Pacific Islanders, with ancestry crossing the oceans, our very existence and the DNA in our bodies only exists because the ocean carried us and connected us for millennia. These gifts, these stories, serve a dual purpose. Firstly, they underscore the timeless reality that the Pacific embodies an ocean of peoples within an ocean of nations. Secondly, and speaking as an Indigenous person, as Pacific Islanders, we have experienced the loss that comes from the doctrine of terra nullius, the idea, the fictional idea, that there is land that belongs to no one and it can be taken. If we are the ocean, what does this signify for us, Pacific Islanders? As the notion of granting the ocean rights gains momentum, how does this affect our personhood, our identity as people of the ocean? As Indigenous peoples, we recognize this worrying pattern from the past. An initial denial of ownership, followed by an assertion that someone else possesses what was once deemed unclaimable. We belong to the ocean does not belong to us. While the doctrine of terra nullius has been discredited everywhere, at least most of all in these halls, we must remain vigilant to prevent its resurgence. And I'd like to ask for everyone to enter into the question, how could we compress the enormity of our living ocean into the confines of rights? And so to end, my third gift is again from the Pacific Ocean, from the late Bernard Narakobi of Papua New Guinea, who passionately declared, "I write not to hurt people, although I am aware people do get hurt. I write not to please, although I am aware some are pleased. I write to plead a cause and hopefully forge a path." As a Pacific Islander, I wonder, if we are the ocean, we are of the ocean, will ocean rights now speak for us? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. And humanity certainly belongs to the ocean. And it's important that we remember and respect Indigenous values where the heart of recognizing ocean rights resides. There is so much knowledge to learn, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight. Now, I'm so excited about our next speaker because she has been a personal hero and lifelong role model of mine. Please help me welcome the founder of Mission Blue, who is also a marine biologist, oceanographer, explorer, and author, Her Deepness, Dr. Sylvia Earle.
Rather than see you stand up, I'd rather see you dive down and right into the topic we're talking about, the ocean. Ask any astronaut, what they see looking down from their perch high in the sky. They'll tell you that the world is blue. Ask Bill Andrews, the astronaut who took that photograph, famously known as Earthrise, that really transformed the way we see ourselves. And he did say in a conversation I had not so long ago that his favorite view of the world from space is not Earthrise, it's the blue face that you see when you look at the Pacific Ocean sort of head on. No matter how you look at it, top, bottom, whatever, the Earth is a blue planet. It's an ocean planet. It's where 97% of Earth's water is, of course. You hear this. And then we're the biosphere. Where's biodiversity? Where's life on Earth? It's mostly out there in the ocean. And we're just beginning to recognize that we are ocean creatures. Take away the ocean, we can't survive. Neither can the whales or coral reefs or anything else. All living things need the ocean. So people ask me, what is your favorite sea creature? Expecting me to say something like a dolphin or a shark or a seahorse. I say, humans. I mean, I have kids, I have grandchildren, and I love all forms of life. I mean, mosquitoes, yeah, okay. They're part of the system too. But all in all, I think we have something special going for us. There's a lot of concern about artificial intelligence. That will we sometime in the future, or even now, should we be afraid of machines taking over? I think about it. What do we have that machines don't have? I mean, they can do some things better than we can. If you think even the little thing you carry around in your hand, I can't remember all those addresses and telephone numbers and all the rest, but my machine can. But it's more than that. Kathy Sullivan, skywalking astronaut, says, machines have no sense of humor. They don't feel pain, don't feel pleasure. They don't have empathy. They don't have a sense. I mean, there may be a gazillion cell phones out there, but they don't have a sense of family or community. Could they? There's something special going for us that gives us an edge, not only over machines, but gives us an edge over other forms of life. Think about that. If you were an alien up in the sky, wanting to get acquainted with the most intelligent creatures on Earth, do you think they would look at humans? First of all, we don't have the biggest brains on the planet. Those would be whales, especially sperm whales. There are other cetaceans that have whales bigger than ours, other than sperm whales. Dolphins, you go through the list. All creatures that live on Earth, all animals, and I don't know, there's growing a sense that maybe plants are sensitive in ways that we have yet to really fathom, because it's hard for us to get inside of them and know what they know, feel what they feel. They feel the pain of lack of water, pain of herbicides, I suppose. I don't know whether you could call it pain, but certainly they have a reaction. We know what pain is. We know that our fellow mammals and birds feel pain. Why not fish? Where do we ever get the idea that fish feel no pain? Or that lobsters, is it just to help ease our consciousness about what we inflict upon these other forms of light. But here's another thought. Aliens looking at Earth from high in the sky, trying to find sentient beings. Well, there are lots of them, including all humans. But zeroing in on the whales, what have we got that they don't have? Family? No. Check that. They've got family. Communication, language, check, check. Sense of self. They give one another names. Check, check, check. What if, just what if whales made the rules, not humans? Just imagine creatures who live in the sea, who are of the sea, as are we, but they sense it more acutely with every breath they take. I guess they feel it with every breath they take and then plunge back into the depths, fellow mammals that they are. They probably appreciate every breath they take more than every one of us. We kind of take every breath for granted. But when you submerge and then come back and take a breath, you probably appreciate it a bit more. Take a deep dive into the ocean. What do they see? What do they feel? What do they know? That with all of our intelligence, all of our ability to construct things, figure things out, get high in the sky, and even take ourselves deeper in the ocean than whales can go, holding their breath. We do have that going for us. We also have the ability, because we have the ability to anticipate the future. Maybe they do too, but we can plan way ahead. We can see that Earth is in trouble. Whales probably know that Earth is in trouble too. We know what to do. Even if they knew what to do, they wouldn't be able to do what we can do now. In a way, I wish whales could make the rules. Because I think, for one thing, their societies tend to be matriarchal. Did I say that? Thank you. We need to think about the rights of other creatures, the rights of other systems, the rights of the ocean, and we need to do it now, as if our lives really depend on that kind of respect. Thank you.
Wonderful to have you here with us, Sylvia. I know you have a very busy schedule currently, and we just appreciate your time and your words. So in light of timing, we want to keep moving. So I'm very excited next to sit down with Michelle Bender. Michelle is a great friend to the Ocean Race and was one of the visionaries to introduce the idea of ocean rights to global policy. Michelle is currently serving as a consultant with the Earth Law Center and Ocean Vision Legal, as well as a member of the IUCN's World Commission on Environmental Law and an advisory board member for the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature. She founded and created the Ocean Rights Framework in 2017, aiming to address a significant gap in the rights of nature movement and global ocean governance. The Ocean Race provides a platform, but as a US-based NGO, Earth Law Center, and especially Michelle and her colleagues like Rachel and so many others, are the brains behind the principles. They've done an immense amount of work on the actual draft principles of a Universal Declaration of Ocean Rights. Please welcome Michelle. Now I'm just going to make my way around because we are chatting. Here we go. Perfect. All right. So, of course, thank you again, Michelle, for being here and for all the work that you've done so far on ocean rights. And you've been working on this for a number of years. And the principles that you've put together with your team, tell us about that and also your personal work. Like, why did you choose to start working on this concept?
Is this working? Do I need a... Yep.
Just need to project.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Danny, and all of you esteemed guests for joining us today.
I've been working in the rights and nature space for almost 8 years now, but as you noted, 2017 was really a pivotal year. That was the year that Te Awa Tupua Act was passed in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and the Wanganui River was recognized as a legal person, becoming the first river in the world. And since then, the movement has really erupted. Nature as a whole, rivers, national parks, they're being recognized as legal persons or legal entities subjects of rights. But despite there being over 200 laws, policies, judicial decisions in almost 40 countries recognizing the rights of nature, only about 5% of those are specific to a marine ecosystem or a species. So that left me asking myself, where was the ocean in this conversation, and what are we waiting for? So I made it my goal to explore and advocate for what the rights of nature framework could look like within the ocean policy seascape. Now, the paradigm shift we need is first and foremost increased awareness and education on how vital the ocean is to all of our lives, regardless if we live on the coast or hundreds of miles inland. The ocean sustains all life on the planet, and human well-being is inextricably linked with the health of the ocean. Increased awareness can help achieve the important value shift that is needed. The saying that we only protect what we love is very true, especially in the ocean governance discourse. How we value the ocean directly influences how decisions are made, how effective laws will be, and who those laws benefit. Therefore, worldviews must change, from viewing the ocean as a limitless resource to understanding the ocean is finite, a living being with intrinsic value, worthy of protection and respect, regardless of the benefit and utility to society. And you'll see on the screen behind us just a brief mention of the principles that you've heard mentioned today. And this foundational text was created through a process throughout the last 2 years, consulting with over 150 stakeholders from all backgrounds and expertise to really understand what is our relationship with the ocean and what do we want to do about that relationship. And their application, they might look familiar, but they're applied within a different lens, a lens from the ocean's perspective.
Excellent, Michelle. So, is this on? Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Michelle. Now, you mentioned a little bit about value shift and a paradigm shift. Can you tell us why this work is important? I think we've covered a lot of that through our speeches tonight, but when you talk about ocean policies and laws that are currently in place, how will that shift things around?
Yeah, so Universal Declaration of Ocean Rights, or UDOR as I'll call it going forward, will set forth a bold vision in global ocean governance. It would declare that the ocean has an inherent right to exist, ecological integrity, natural climate, restoration and regeneration. And it would assert that we as stewards of the ocean have an ethical obligation to safeguard ocean health and biodiversity for current and future generations of all life on the planet, not just humankind. Ocean rights or rights of nature does not mean that nature becomes intangible or we cannot touch it, but rather as a subject of rights, the ocean's scope of protection becomes amplified, similar to what we've seen with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It would provide a legal foundation for ocean protection, enabling nations to align their laws under a common set of principles and understandings. This would provide consistency and coherence across all ocean-related agendas, which, as we know, currently exist in a patchwork of regional and sectoral regulations and standards. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea already sets the stage here, but a UDOR can both improve and effectively guide the implementation of our obligation to protect and preserve the marine environment. Ocean rights calls for the inclusion of diverse value systems, knowledge, and science. We heard yesterday at the SDG zone that the Maori people consider the great whales as their ancestors and are calling for legal personhood designation. A recent study also estimates that a conservative economic value of a living whale is around $2 million US. Just those two value systems together lend support for 100% protection for whales and their habitat. Additionally, recognizing and respecting the intrinsic value of the ocean, such a value that is so immense we couldn't possibly put a dollar sign on, can help us branch away from the current traditional economic valuations of the impact of human activity. These methods, they rarely include externalities, future generations, and the costs and benefits to other species and habitats. Finally, ocean rights requires us to think like the ocean. What does she need to be healthy and thriving? So whether you are on a fishery management council, creating an MPA, or running a business like the Ocean Race, the ocean is there and represented in decisions and disputes affecting her health. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for your expertise. It's like musical chairs, but with microphones. Here we go. All right. Now I would like to introduce a very important person who has worked hard for environmental and indigenous rights in Panama. We invite you to put your headsets on now to listen to the translation in English if you'd like. Make sure it's on channel 1.
The ocean is life. That is why it's important to recognize the rights of the ocean. In my culture, we know it as Grandmother Ocean. Our marine and coastal ecosystems have been exposed to a series of impacts caused mainly by human activities, which have been exacerbated by the effects of climate change that Panama is experiencing. To face this global reality, our country has designed the National Ocean Policy, P&O, arising from the state's commitment to the preservation of our oceans, the conservation of marine biodiversity, and the sustainable use and development of resources that are an indispensable part of the natural and collective heritage of humanity. A policy that responds to the national interest and the need for a general regulatory framework which articulates all the actions and efforts of both public and private actors. However, at present, there is a continuous deterioration of coastal waters due to pollution, and my region does not escape from this. And the large amounts of garbage that reach our shores endanger the ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important that we keep in mind that the ocean needs us and give the importance of recognizing the rights of the ocean. Our future generation deserves to enjoy an unpolluted ecosystem and a clean ocean. And Grandmother Ocean deserves to be healthy for her own rights. We can make changes by striving and raising our voice together to give value to our ocean. The oceans are responsible for generating much of the planet's oxygen, and the ocean is home to most of Earth's biodiversity. Since I joined the National Assembly as a deputy, I've been part of the Commission of Population, Environment and Development. That is why environmental responsibility is one of the pillars that has characterized us. I can point out that I've supported projects for the benefit of the environment, which today are law, such as Law 187, which regulates the reduction and progressive replacement of single-use plastics. Law 304, which establishes the integral protection of coral reef ecosystems. Bill 126, which declares June 8th as a National Day of Reflection on the conservation of the oceans and rivers in the Republic of Panama. This project is in discussion in the second debate. I have also supported Law 287, which recognizes the rights of nature and the obligations of the state related to these rights, making Panama the first country in the world to recognize the rights of nature worldwide. Lately, I've been supported Law 371, which includes Article 29, which recognizes the rights of turtles, the first national law in the world to recognize the rights of a group of marine species. In Panama, we're taking great steps to recognize the intrinsic rights of nature, and it's an honor to support this initiative to recognize the rights of the ocean at the United Nations level. I consider it of great importance to prevent, avoid, and repair those damages to our marine ecosystems and Grandmother Ocean. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. We're honored to have you here with us. We'd also like to extend thanks to marine biologist, National Geographic explorer, and founder of the Leatherback Project, Callie Wielenturf, in the room. There you are in the back. Callie has been a key to promoting the recognition of the rights of nature, including the specific recognition of the rights of sea turtles in Panama. So thank you for your great work, Callie. In June, the grand finale of the ocean race was held in Genova, Italy, and it was a very fitting place to end the race. It's not only a port city, but it is a city of the sea. So it's an honor to have the Vice Mayor of Genova with us tonight. Pietro Pocciocchi, please come up here, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Good evening, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely happy to be here with you in New York. I come from Genoa, a city in the northwest part of Italy, about 100 miles from the border with France and Monte Carlo. Liguria, the region where Genova is nested, is blessed with some of the most pristine places on earth, like the Cinque Terre, Portofino, Sanremo, just to name a few. The city of Genova is long and thin, between the Mediterranean Sea and 5,000 feet mountains. Our sea gets deep quite quickly. Our coast is rocky. Our harbor is the biggest of the Mediterranean Sea. Our people have been fishermen, sailors, and explorers. Our life has been inextricably linked with our sea. This is why our administration supported the Geneva process, the long journey that led us here at UN and that started in Genoa in March 2022. We are grateful to the Ocean Race Organization not only for the rebranding opportunity and the international visibility for the city of Genova, but even more for the opportunity to do something right for the future of mankind and our planet. A wise inhabitant of an ecosystem preserves it for a sustainable future. The future declaration of the rights of the oceans will pave the way to a future for our children. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that just turned 70 years old, has been the most translated document in the world. The Declaration of Human Rights has established principles for everyone, everywhere, and has become a central guiding force for the United Nations. In the same way, we need to ensure the good health of our oceans. Such health is key for the future of life on our planet. All that we do and will do have global impact. Microplastic and human manufactured chemicals are found in the middle and at the bottom of the oceans. Now is the moment to get our acts together. Now is the moment to defend our planet and the future of our children. Water is the place to start. Genoa, my city, is proud to be part of this process. Thank you for listening and good job, everyone.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We're really glad you're here tonight. Now, for the grand finale of the race, it was a wonderful place to be, supporting ocean rights and the entire Geneva process. We appreciate it. And I also want to make sure, is everyone doing all right? Can I get an oh yeah if you're still in the room? Oh yeah, okay. So we've got an exciting panel up next. And when we talk about recognizing ocean rights, it's about making it personal, a personal connection to the ocean, because we take care of what we care about. I'm happy to welcome our first panel of the evening, a sailor, a shark scientist, and an endurance swimmer, who are all on a mission to restore the balance of our shared planet. To talk more about how sports, diversity, and resilience are crucial to recognizing ocean rights, please let's welcome Charlie Enright, skipper of the 11th Hour Racing Team, the winning team of the Ocean Race 2023 edition. Welcome, Charlie. Next, we have Carly Jackson Bohannon. She's a shark scientist and co-founder of MISS. And Louis Pugh, UNEP's patron of the ocean and endurance swimmer. Welcome, Louis. Wonderful to have you all here. Thank you for taking the time. And let's jump into the questions here. So first off, Charlie, I want to begin with you. You've spent your life on the ocean. Could you tell us about more of what the ocean means to you personally in the context of the inherent rights of the ocean?
Can everybody hear me? Yes? No?
You might have to project a little.
All right. I'll project.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody for coming this evening on behalf of the 11th Hour Racing team and 11th Hour Racing. Amazing venue, amazing group, and we're all very appreciative of everyone's time and the fact that everybody's here this evening. To talk specifically about my relationship with the ocean, you can see the fruits of the labor right here, which is pretty cool. I've been around the world 3 times now, and never does the ocean feel more important to me than it does when we're at a place called Point Nemo, which is the farthest point from land you can get on this earth. It's probably where Richard Breezius experienced a issue with his boat. What? Oh, okay, 24 years old. It's there that you look out the back of the boat and all you see is the blue ocean. It's very much like what astronauts see when they look back, at planet Earth from the spaceship. They experience what they call the overview effect, and we experience what we call out there the ocean view effect. And actually, it's fitting to talk about astronauts, Sylvia Earle, because they're the closest people to us when we're in that remote part of the planet, of the ocean. They're 250 miles orbiting overhead, and we actually had a little call with them, the International Space Station, when we were at Point Nemo, because we thought that would be fun. And there's plenty of biodiversity and things to protect here on Earth, but space seems to be all the rage these days. So we hollered out to them, and then actually, funny story, when we finished the race in Genoa, I got a call on my cell phone that I thought was just spam from the city of Houston, so I didn't pick it up. And then I read my Apple voicemail, and it was the guys from the International Space Station congratulating us on our victory in the race. So kind of a random one. But it's in a place like that, Point Nemo, where I personally connect most with the ocean.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you so much, Charlie. So we talk about being on the top of the ocean, right? Floating on the surface as well as the cosmos, but what about beneath the waves? And Carly, you're here tonight as a shark scientist, and we both love sharks. I bet a lot of people in here love sharks as well. And you've had some amazing encounters. Can you tell us about a specific memory that sticks out to you in your heart and your mind, and that reminds us why ocean rights should be recognized?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely some of my most precious moments in the ocean have been interactions with sharks, and whether that be in the water, actually directly sharing that space with them, just like I am in these pictures that are shown where I'm swimming with nurse sharks, or in a research setting where I am tagging sharks and on a boat and collecting data. And I think they're gonna show some pictures of me on a boat in Miami where I am tagging and helping to restrain a black-nosed shark in Miami, Florida. And it's some of my favorite things to do. But specifically, a memory that really stands out in my mind that is very precious to me is when I was doing my master's research in Belize. And I was collecting data on behavioral data on nurse sharks there. I was looking at the effects of feeding tourism, and I was in the water with the nurse sharks like every day. I spent about 2 months there in Belize. And during one of the surveys, we were in an area that was very shallow water and just a bunch of nurse sharks, but during one of those surveys, our boat captain points and is yelling, "There's a hammerhead, there's a hammerhead." And naturally, I go swim in the direction that he's pointing because I have to get my eyes on this hammerhead. I'd never seen a shark like a big shark like that in the ocean and swam with it. So as I'm swimming over towards my group, out of the corner of my eye, this huge hammerhead kind of just cuts me off from the group as I'm swimming there. And this is a massive animal. If you've ever been in the water with hammerheads, you can just imagine how absolutely massive they are. This was about an 8 to 9 foot animal. That's about 2.5 meters. And I just remember locking eyes with her as she swam by. And it was in that moment that I felt very small, very small and defenseless, but also very honored and just very blessed to be sharing that space with such an important and beautiful animal. And it's memories like that that really reminds me that the ocean deserves to be protected and deserves some rights.
Wonderful. Thank you, Charlie. Now, Louis, you've experienced, well, of course, the most extreme areas of the ocean, like swimming in Antarctica, but you also know the power of endurance. What lessons can we learn from your experience that will help us collectively shift the paradigm and recognizing ocean rights?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You know, I wonder if the pictures are coming up. So there's a picture of me swimming down a river in Antarctica. And when you go and do a swim down in Antarctica, down a river, you start thinking about all the things which could possibly go wrong. And there is a whole list of things which could possibly go wrong. One of the main things which could go wrong when you go down a river in Antarctica is that you can suddenly get a crack in the ice, and then a moulin can appear, and that water in that river is suddenly going to drain out incredibly quickly, and you are going to drop a couple of 100 meters to the bedrock underneath. Okay? It is one of the most challenging environments on this earth to swim. Okay? And when you're faced with something which is incredibly challenging, most people think about all the things which could possibly go wrong, and as I say, there's a lot of things which could possibly go wrong when you're swimming in that type of environment. What I try to do, though, is I try and flip the script. And what I mean by that is, instead of thinking about all the things which could possibly go wrong, I ask myself, what would things look like if everything went absolutely perfectly? And then what I do is, I try and put all those things into place, and at that stage then, I try and mitigate against all the risk. I then dive in and I commit 100%. And what I've learned in 36 years of swimming across the North Pole, in the Red Sea with oceanic white tips around me, and places like that, is that actually very, very few things are impossible to achieve if you flip the script. And so what needs to happen in this room and outside, if we're going to have ocean rights, and just to say that I started out my career as a maritime lawyer, and the first big case that I did was the Exxon Valdez case. And what I learned there was that when things really go wrong, they can go very, very badly wrong in the ocean, and it can have a devastating impact, not just on the planet and on the beautiful animals in the oceans, but also on local communities. And so if we're going to flip the script, the only way we're going to get ocean rights is if we learn how to flip the script.
Thank you, Louis. We certainly need to flip the script in our journey toward recognizing ocean rights. And I want to go back to Carly for a moment here. You co-founded Miss Elasmo, which Miss stands for Minorities in Shark Science. Can you tell us about why inclusivity and accessibility, I can speak, accessibility, are so important in the context of ocean rights?
Yeah, for sure. So, it turned on for me. Awesome. So I co-founded a nonprofit organization called Minorities in Shark Sciences about 3 years ago. I heard a little woo in the back, yes. About 3 years ago with 3 other Black women shark scientists. And our mission as a nonprofit is to advance the field of shark and marine science by providing accessible and equitable pathways into research and education, specifically for historically excluded groups. And those groups include Black, indigenous, people of color, those from the global South, and the LGBTQ+ communities. So when we founded MISS, we, us as co-founders, we recognized how difficult marine science was as a field to get into. Marine science, and especially shark science, is a very hard field to navigate and to really get into as a researcher. And our overall goal was to make that a lot easier for people to get into shark and marine science. And that was one reason why we created MISS. So our overall goal, of course, is to save sharks and to contribute to their conservation, but we can only do that through innovative research, and we believe that innovative research comes out of having diverse groups of people as part of that research. So when we look at the ocean, we know that biodiversity is essential for the health of the ocean. Every fish, mammal, plant, microbe, it has a very unique role that it fits into to help our oceans really function. And we believe that, when you have a diverse group of people coming from different cultures and different backgrounds and life experiences, that brings innovation to a field because they'll approach questions differently, they'll ask different questions, and that's what we need in order to advance the field of shark and marine science. And diversity is just critical so that we can advance the field and be better prepared and equipped to protect our oceans and its rights.
Wonderful, Carly. Now, Charlie, I'll move on to you. Why is a sailing team like 11th Hour Racing Team supporting ocean rights?
Well, I think sailors and anybody that's on the water, whether it be for recreation or industry or in our case, competition, they're natural advocates for the ocean. But more than that, I think everybody who spends time on the water feels a deep responsibility to be an advocate for the ocean, and that's the important part. We are privileged to spend time on the water, and part of our mission is to explain to people that aren't that privileged just how important their actions are to the health of the oceans and just how their everyday life is affected by the ocean, because I think that's the part of the narrative that we're missing. I really do think that.
Thank you, Charlie. Yes, absolutely. Quite a lot of great work has been done by 11th Hour Racing and Racing Team. We want to thank you for that and can't wait to see you on your next adventure on the ocean. Now, Louis, we'll finish up with you. You've just finished an epic endurance swim down the Hudson River with a campaign named The Ocean Refuses No River. Can you tell us how your goals as an athlete align with nature's rights?
Thank you so much. For me, as I say, I started life out as a maritime lawyer. This has always been an issue of justice. It's always been an issue about justice. Justice between ourselves and future generations. We have no right to leave our children with a planet which is not sustainable, but also justice between ourselves and the animal kingdom. At the moment, there are about 1 million species which are at real risk of going extinct. And at the same time, I'm a pioneer swimmer. I love to swim. I love to go and do swims in places which are really, really challenging to swim. And so what I try to do is I try to combine the two of them. So I try and do swims in really threatened places around the world, and then to carry a message about what is happening there and why that matters to you wherever you are in the world, whether you're here in New York, in Cape Town, wherever you are. So, for example, in 2007, I went to the North Pole, and I swam across an open patch of sea at the North Pole. And this was the first time in human history that the North Pole had properly unfrozen. A very, very simple message about the health of the Arctic sea ice. And then later I went down to Antarctica and I did that swim down that river. And then last year I swam across the Red Sea. And I swam across some of the most incredible coral reefs in the world, which are right on the edge now because of the heating of the planet. But the reason why I swam down the Hudson was because this is an incredible river. The work that has been done on the Hudson River to clean up the Hudson River is nothing short of astonishing. 50 years ago, New Yorkers said enough is enough, and they started cleaning that river. And they started literally mile by mile, town by town, factory after factory, and they have turned the health of this river around. And to swim to New York and arrive here today, and 315 miles, it's a long swim, but to swim here today to deliver this message that rivers are the arteries of our planet, and we cannot have a healthy planet without healthy rivers. And when we pour raw sewage into rivers, as we do in my country, or when we pour industrial waste into rivers, or when we allow plastic pollution to go into rivers, it not only kills the rivers and kills everything in the rivers, but it goes and does exactly the same thing in our oceans. And our oceans should never, ever be dumping grounds. Thank you.
Louis, Carly, Charlie, thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing your profound experiences and your inspiring words. Please, another round of applause for our panelists. All right, here we go. So now I'm happy to introduce the acting director at the International Union for Conservation of Nature, Dr. Grethel Aguilar.
Good evening. I wish to begin by thanking all the distinguished speakers before me for their insights and wisdom. Let me just say that when I was first invited to speak on ocean rights, my first reaction was, we need this. Now I heard, of course, and we all heard Sylvia Earle said that this is, and I truly believe it, this is about respect for the planet and for the oceans, for the species. But it's also about responsibility and obligations. I am a lawyer from Costa Rica, a country bounded by two oceans, the Caribbean and the Pacific. And so naturally, the goal of a universal declaration of ocean rights by 2030 speaks to me on deep level. The ocean is in a crisis, and we must act. The problem is that for too much time in human history, we have tended to view the ocean in terms on how we can use it. And the ocean has been very generous to us. But in return, we humans have not been generous to the ocean. So we need to see the oceans as having its own intrinsic worth. And yes, there is still so much we don't understand about the ocean's complex processes and biodiversity. And that is why it is so urgent to protect what we know, but also to protect what we don't know, because we don't know everything yet in this vast ocean. IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, can help. We are a union of 1,500 members, 16,000 experts, 200 government members. And in 2012, members approved a resolution urging all IUCN members, including state members, to promote the development of a universal declaration of the rights of nature. So IUCN will keep supporting all efforts to shape ocean rights and also to establish clear responsibilities so that we humans can protect oceans. Let me just end with on a personal note. My grandmother was from a coastal town in Costa Rica called Punta Arenas. And when I was a child, and even today, she used to take me there to see the ocean. So every time I was leaving the ocean, I will say to the ocean, "Goodbye, ocean." So now, I'm not so young now, but I still say to the ocean when I go there, "Goodbye, ocean." But now I add a sentence, "We are doing the best we can for you." And it is very deep to my heart because it reminds me my life next to the ocean. So I really hope that we can all together save the ocean and work really hard to have the rights for the ocean. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar. And maybe we've noticed a little bit of a trend. Our speakers here tonight, when they start speaking about the ocean and their own experiences in the ocean, there's a smile there and there's joy, and that is something very profound. So thanks again to the IUCN for being one of our co-organizers for tonight's Ocean Race Summit. Now, we gathered support from many world leaders and dignitaries from around the world who worked very hard and are all doing work on raising the voice of the ocean and ocean rights, from Panama to Monaco, Brazil, Aruba, Seychelles, Barbados, as well as members of the EU Commission and the mayors in the race's host cities. Now I'd like to welcome someone who, like many of us, wants to see the tangible benefits come from ocean rights. Please welcome the Global Director for Environment, Natural Resources, and Blue Economy at the World Bank, Valerie Hickey.
Thank you so much, Danny, and you're really flipping the script now, having a boring bureaucrat who has no fun pictures to show talk about the oceans. And you may wonder why the World Bank is interested in the ocean race and why we're interested in the ocean. And it's because we know, finally, that we can never have a world without poverty in a world without a healthy ocean. Never. And that's why we're involved. And we don't talk about the language of rights at the World Bank. We're a boring institution. We're an institution full of economists. But we talk about the language of economics. And there are three things that they both have in parallel. And I want to talk about those because even though the language is different, the intent is the same. The first thing has to do with planning. We need to make sure that we support more marine spatial planning. As a product, yes, to understand what can be done where, with whom, under what regulatory framework, but more importantly as a process to make sure everyone is around the table making those decisions, especially indigenous peoples, local communities, small companies, women, other marginalized communities, because we all know if you're not at the table when decisions are being made, your interests are on the menu and they're going to be chewed up and spit out. And that's why it's also important we have the voice of the ocean at the table. But of course, Mother Ocean can't speak for herself. So that's the second important thing, is to have the data that can speak for her. And I have to say, it's a shame we don't have good data on the ocean. We don't have good ways to measure a healthy ocean. We don't have the indicators. And we need them. We need robust indicators that tell us what we need to know. Those indicators have to be responsive so that they don't just show change in decades. They show changes quickly enough for a quarterly financial statement, because that's how investors think. We need to have responsive indicators, and they need to be relevant, including in data-poor countries. We simply cannot have indicators that only work for high-income countries. And the final thing we have to remember is money. It takes money to make an ocean healthy, particularly an ocean that we've used as a dumping ground for so long. But we have to ask the question, what kind of money and for what? There's a huge amount of money being invested in the oceans, a lot of it being invested incorrectly. Just look at the domestic policy spend and perverse subsidies. Just in fisheries alone, marine fisheries, $35 billion a year spent. $22 billion a year of which are the problem, not the solution. So there is money. There's also private sector money that we have to help invest in growing and diversifying biodiversity-based businesses, sustainable businesses, indigenous and women-led businesses. And we need international public finance, including from institutions like my own, to accelerate action on ocean health, not just on behalf of SDG 14, which matters, but on behalf of every SDG. Because we can't end poverty without a healthy ocean. We can't have nobody hungry without a healthy ocean. We can't even have peace without a healthy ocean. So count on us to be a partner. Thank you.
Thank you again, Valerie, and we appreciate your time and insight here tonight. You all have been a wonderful audience so far. Thank you for being here. Please know that we deeply feel gratitude for your presence as well. Now, it's my pleasure to welcome a very special guest, an actress, producer, and ocean advocate known for her role as Shreya, a freediver in Avatar 2, the theatrical film, The Way of Water. Please welcome Bailey Bass.
What an incredible moment in UN history. I'm so excited to be here with you all and very grateful. I have been passionate about finding solutions in the climate crisis for over a decade now, and the ocean has been a very big part of that passion. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, about a 5-minute drive away from Brighton Beach and Coney Island, and I grew up exploring the ocean. One of the most vivid memories being my grandpa holding my hands and spinning me around as the waves crashed. Years later, as my acting career began to grow, I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to become scuba certified in Kona, Hawaii. Swimming in Kona, my heart was full. Getting the experience of diving into the clear blue ocean with turtles and fish all around me was breathtaking. The sea is so special. While in Kona, there was a rare sighting of 3 whales and a shark. We went out deep into the ocean where you couldn't see any land around us and swam with them. Getting to witness these creatures in harmony with each other was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It showed the beauty and magnitude of the possibilities that the sea holds. I felt so lucky. About 7 years later, this summer actually, I went to Mallorca, Spain, and rented a boat with my friend. I was feeling a little down on myself, and there in that moment, the sea gave me hope. I felt so lucky yet again. The feeling, it's a moment I hope everyone experiences, the feeling of being a part of something way bigger than oneself. I felt centered and at peace. I was reminded that nature is a healer. It's a place of joy. Unfortunately, as the climate crisis continues to burden the existence of so many ecosystems, this special, breathtaking experience with the ocean is a fleeting one. I've been asked to speak here today in large part because of my participation in Avatar: The Way of Water. I am grateful that I have a platform where I can create impact and positive change, but it's not just my voice that matters. Yesterday, I was at the March to End Fossil Fuels just a couple blocks away from here, and 10,000 people, tens of thousands of people, led by youth voices, came to protest and push for a brighter, safer, cleaner tomorrow, so our children don't have to experience the heartbreaking results of the climate crisis. These voices deserve to be heard. These voices are so important, and I urge you to listen to the youth. Hear our call to action. We only have one planet. We want change, and the time is now. Thank you for listening to me today, but I hope that you listen for tomorrow, because this movement is not about one voice, one person, or one moment, but it's about one planet, our planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bailey. You truly embody that joy that we were talking about of the ocean and your experiences. Now, what do ocean regeneration, indigenous wisdom, and youth leadership have all in common? Well, each are pieces, crucial pieces, to helping recognize the inherent rights of the ocean. To discuss more on this, I'm excited to introduce our next panel of speakers. First off, we have Dr. Carlos Duarte. He's a distinguished professor of marine science at KAUST, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, and senior advisor in the environment and sustainability to Red Sea Global. Welcome, Dr. Carlos Duarte. Next, we have Saoirse Exton, who is a part of the UN Secretary General's Youth Advisory Group on Climate Change and also a RISE Global winner. Welcome, Saoirse. And finally, Maria Eduardo Acevedo. She's a RISE Global winner and youth innovator. Please welcome Maria. Welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. Now, Saoirse, I'd like to begin with you. You have a passion for legislative and student-led activism, and you're doing some amazing work when it comes to climate action. How do you see nature's and ocean rights fitting within or benefiting from the work you're doing?
Oh, there you go. I think one of the biggest things that I fundamentally believe is that the planet that we live on is not a natural resource. It is something that we live beside and collectively with. We are part of an ecosystem, and I think we have forgotten that. Our current kind of economic system values profit above all and values the use of our planet for profit. I genuinely think that leaders that I interact with on a daily basis, especially here at the UNGA, I think a lot of them know and understand the crisis that we're in, but do not care because their only interest is fundamentally profit. So I think our planet is not just something that we are a part of, it is also something that we have a duty to protect. And so in everything that I do, I think the planet takes a central role.
Thank you, Saoirse. Now, Carlos, you've been working in the ocean sphere for a very long time, researching, protecting, and restoring the ocean. How do you feel about recognizing the inherent rights of the ocean, and what can these draft principles that we spoke about earlier with Michelle indeed help support perhaps a future Universal Declaration of Ocean Rights?
Thank you, Don. So our panel is entitled Regeneration, Action, and Ocean Rights. And on this week, the UN General Assembly is discussing progress towards meeting the goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. And the word sustainability has been so much used that it's empty today. And it's empty because sustainability really means meeting the demands of the current generation without compromising access to resources of the next generations, which are represented here with me. So I stand in front of my co-panelists, representing the future generation, to declare that I represent, as a white Western baby boomer, I represent the generation that has broken the contract. So we cannot longer pledge that our generation has not depleted resources that are impeding the development of the next generations. So the contract is broken, and we need to repair it. So sustainability is no longer enough. We cannot be happy with sustaining the little that is left. We now need to regenerate. So that's why we focus on regeneration, because ocean rights is about a healthy ocean, and a broken, depleted ocean is not in its own right. So we need to regenerate the oceans. Sustainability is no longer enough. And then we need to move to a regenerative progress towards the ocean, an approach to the ocean. And that requires action. And in fact, sometimes we despair. Can we really hope to have a healthy ocean? And we despair. And action, as singer Joan Baez, and that reveals also the generation that I belong to, said, action is the remedy to despair. So we need to engage in action to really bring an ocean that it's rightful and is complete. And that action requires that we empower the next generations, represented here, to be able to take on this regenerative goal. And there's one Sustainable Development Goal that is missing, 18, which was missed from the discussion, that is youth empowerment, because it's not about the world that we live in, it's about the world that my co-panelists will live in. So we need to empower them to deliver action and achieve a complete ocean that is rightfully healthy.
Thank you, Carlos. And that's one of the things that I love about this panel is this intergenerational conversation that we're creating, and we need to see more of this as we continue to elevate the next generation. And Maria, you're part of that next generation. You're from Brazil, and it's one of the most biodiverse places on the planet. What are some of the environmental changes you've come into contact with personally that relates to ocean rights? And do you believe the ocean and nature should have rights?
Well, when thinking about oceans' rights and nature's rights in general, I think about this Maori proverb, which is an indigenous New Zealand tribe, and they say, "I am the river and the river is me." And I think that sentence pretty much summarizes everything we have been advocating for and this evening, because how Saoirse was talking, we don't understand that nature is independent and we depend on nature, not the other way around. We coexist and we need to figure out a way how to do that in harmony, which we have been failing miserably. Talking about Brazil, I think we have some examples of that situation, and for me, one of the biggest and most recent ones would be with the Yanomami people. It's also an indigenous tribe from the Amazon rainforest, and because of illegal mining, illegal use of mercury, they have been struggling a lot with polluted, contaminated rivers, which has been killing a lot of the people. And it's just one of the thousands of examples of how, once again, we are putting money and capitalism and profits on top of our people, of our lives, of our future. So yes, 100%, I believe ocean should have rights. And I believe that nature already knows that it has rights, because nature speaks with us and speaks really loud, but we are just failing to listen to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Now, I'm going to head back to you, Carlos. You're pretty popular in the marine science world, the rock star for coining the term blue carbon, which is a term that many of us are familiar with. But you're also doing some great work with Red Sea Global. Can you tell us a little bit more about the work you're doing with the Red Sea to help protect ocean rights?
So I just mentioned the importance of moving from sustaining the little that we have left towards regeneration and rebuilding the oceans. So in 2016, as I was developing these ideas, I got a query from the Royal Court in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and they asked me if it was possible to develop a fragile shoreline like the one of the Red Sea with the utmost care without impacting on marine life and biodiversity. And I told them that in my career I've been asked that question many times, but often when something had been done that had gone wrong, and the question was, can I help fix the problem? So I thought that was a challenge. My response was that, yes, it is possible, but not if you aim just at avoiding damage, but if you now commit to regenerate. So I was then gifted to work from the beginning of the project of the Red Sea Global towards shifting the paradigm from, it's a tourism development, shifting the paradigm from sustainable tourism to one of regenerative tourism. And it's not only regenerative for ocean and biodiversity, it's also regenerative for community. So I'm actually very happy with the work we're doing. We're opening this year, and I hope that you can come and visit and witness by yourself what can be done if we move from sustaining the little that we have to regenerate what we lost.
You can count me in. I'd love to come over and check out the Red Sea. That would be wonderful. I'm sure many of us in the room would like that as well. Now, Saoirse, one of the projects you've recently worked on was about the importance of indigenous and native language when it comes to the connection with land and respect for our planet. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why language is so important?
Absolutely. So my native language is Irish, or Gaeilge, and it's really interesting to see the connection that certain words have with the land, and they demonstrate, I think, the connection that my ancestors once had, and that is no longer there. As I was saying before, I think the world that we exist in is very disconnected from the reality of the ecosystem that we exist in. And I think that, as I said, Irish demonstrates that we once had that connection, that we can get it back once again. I think the reality is that, unfortunately, our leaders, as I was saying before, are not interested in reconnecting. They're not interested in actually listening to what we have to say. It's kind of exhausting to be saying all of this stuff again here, as you know, in other places in the UN General Assembly, to be explaining the fact that, you know, my culture has been eroded by colonialism and continues to be eroded by what is essentially neocolonialism, both in terms of the fact that Ireland is responsible for a large portion of carbon emissions in the EU, and also by the fact that the very things that make up our culture are disappearing, not just the knowledge, but also, you know, coastal areas, and people who are most vulnerable in terms of the climate crisis. And I think in terms of indigenous rights, in terms of the rights of people who own the land that many other people came to and took, I think it's really important to remember that it is their land, and that in order to create change, we need to remember that we are fundamentally human. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Saoirse, for your continued energy and continuing to speak up for the ocean and for nature and for your people and your ancestors. Now, for our last question, I'd like to take it to Maria. And Maria, what should older generations and world leaders do to elevate youth in leadership positions?
Well, for me, that's a really simple question, and I would say invite us. For me personally, it's a huge, huge pleasure to be here, listen to so many amazing change makers, learning, but also having the opportunity to be here speaking and advocating for the things I believe in the projects we have been doing. Personally, I graduated high school a couple years ago, and I believe that everything that I've learned in my life that makes me proud of who I am and makes me an active citizen in my society, I learned after high school. I learned with the project and the opportunities that were given to me. RISE, for example, we're here today representing RISE, and for me, it's just incredible, and I have no words to say how grateful I am to have people that are actually willing to listen to me, to listen to my ideas, and to be holding my hands for my project and my innovative solutions. I feel like society puts a lot of weight in kids to, out of nowhere, just become active citizens, but they forget there's this huge gap in between, that we have to be in rooms like this, we have to be listened, we have to be learning, we have to be listened to. So simply my answer would be, honestly, just invite us, because I can guarantee to you that we have a lot to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And if you're interested in hearing more about RISE, please make sure to go ahead and check out the website and Google it, because it's an incredible program, RISE Global, that allows youth like Saoirse and Maria to continue to do the innovative work that they're doing in the world. Thank you so much, Maria, Saoirse, Carlos. We appreciate your time tonight. Please, another round of applause for our panelists. As you've seen tonight from Maria, from Saoirse, Bailey, they're in the room representing the next generation, and that is really the core reason why we're all here tonight, to protect our planet for them. And we need to continue to use their energy and elevate their voices in spaces like this. Now, to speak more about recognizing ocean rights, I'm happy to introduce our next esteemed speaker from Volvo Cars, a premier partner of the Ocean Race. Please welcome the head of stakeholder engagement, Stuart Templar.
It's a great honor for me personally to speak at the United Nations. I worked for 16 years as a British diplomat prior to joining Volvo Cars, and never had the privilege. Proof that the automotive industry gets you to places diplomacy doesn't. But I'm also delighted to be able to speak on such a critically important issue as ocean health. Volvo's partnership with the Ocean Race goes back nearly 25 years. But what actually made us at Volvo engage in the Ocean Race? At Volvo, we have a special relationship with the ocean. Almost 100 years ago, our company was born right by the sea on the west coast of Sweden. Our hometown, Gothenburg, was for centuries a busy port town and shipbuilding hub. Today, it is a vibrant hotbed for mobility technology and sustainable innovation. But the ocean still flows in our veins. Over the decades since our partnership began, the pressure on our climate and planet due to human activity has increased substantially. The oceans, as we've heard, on which all life depends, has suffered greatly. So rightly, the Ocean Race became a sporting competition with a purpose: to use its global platform to help protect ocean health. Their efforts to educate and inspire collective action are impressive, exemplified by the fact that we are gathered in this auspicious place today. Volvo Cars shares and supports the values and purpose of the race. Within our sector, we aim to be a pioneer in the protection of people and the planet, and a leader in sustainable mobility. This includes through being a fully electric car company by 2030, on our way to becoming climate neutral across our value chain by 2040. And the race has already inspired us to take action to protect our oceans. During the 2017-18 edition, with its focus on maritime plastic pollution and collaboration with the UN Environment Programme's Clean Seas campaign, we set a target for 25% of the plastics in our vehicles to be made from recycled materials by 2025, which we are delivering on, and arranged beach cleans involving over 850 of our employees in 19 countries. Volvo Cars fully endorses the proposal for a Universal Declaration of Ocean Rights. We believe that the private sector plays a key role in ocean conservation and restoration and ensuring the oceans thrive again. And we need to lead by example. And on that note, I'm proud to announce today that Volvo Cars will be joining the World Wildlife Fund's call for a moratorium on deep sea mining and support the accompanying business statement. In doing so, we commit to not source minerals from the deep sea bed and exclude such minerals from our supply chains until it can be clearly demonstrated that these mining activities can be managed in a way that ensures the effective protection of the maritime environment. Thank you once again for the opportunity for Volvo Cars to address this summit, and we hope that the One Blue Voice campaign continues to gather momentum to help secure the rights of the planet's most important ecosystem. Thank you.
Wow, what a strong and important message that you brought to us tonight. This announcement that you're joining WWF's call for a moratorium on deep sea mining. That's incredible. Thank you very much, Stuart. And thank you again to Volvo Cars, a premier partner of the Ocean Race. Now, yes, another round of applause? All right, yes. Our next speaker is the Chief Technology and Innovation Officer at Accenture. Please join me in welcoming Paul Doherty.
Well, good evening to all of you. It's really inspiring to be in the room tonight. It's really a privilege to get to hear from and connect with so many of you who are passionate about the oceans and where we're headed. And we really do face a crisis for the oceans, and it's not just a crisis for the oceans, it's a crisis for all people who depend on the oceans. At Accenture, we have over 700,000 people around the world committed to environmental sustainability, and we've committed to be climate neutral and net zero by 2030, so we're on a path. And the oceans are very important to us, and we support efforts to restore and respect the health of the oceans and the tenets of the Universal Declaration of Ocean Rights. And what I wanted to do with my brief time tonight is come at the issue from a bit of a different angle. You know, we're a technology company, and our mission is to deliver on the promise of technology and human innovation. And I think that's what's really required to address the challenges that we have in front of us. You know, we live in a time of unprecedented technology innovation, generative artificial intelligence, quantum computing, cloud computing, and more. And all of these technologies can play an amazing role in flipping the switch, as we heard about last night, on how we both view and solve some of the challenges that we face. And let me give you a few examples of what we see happening and what we're contributing to in this space. One is an initiative called Reef Cloud. Reef Cloud is with the Australia Institute for Marine Sciences, among others, looking at using cloud computing, new sources of data, and artificial intelligence to both anticipate, preserve, and restore the health of reefs around the world. Or think of another example, which is with the nation of Tuvalu. Tuvalu's a Pacific Island nation in danger, existential danger of sinking into the ocean as we have rising sea levels. One of the things that they're very concerned about is the loss of culture, the loss of their language, the loss of their rights once the land goes away. So we worked with the nation of Tuvalu on a digital twin of Tuvalu to preserve their language, preserve their culture, preserve their traditions, bring awareness to what they face, and also call for recognition of the rights of nations in similar circumstances to preserve their rights as they move into the future. And another example is work we've done with the ocean race, where we're privileged to have a relationship for many years. I'm a sailor myself and have a tight connection with the ocean in many ways, and we've worked with the ocean race since 2014. And when the notion of ocean rights was launched, we thought of the idea of using technology in a different way, specifically the metaverse in this case, to give the ocean a voice. So we partnered with the Ocean Voice and Virtual Regatta to bring an ocean-based experience and bring sailing to many others, to bring it to youth, educate them and bring awareness around the oceans, what was happening with the oceans, educate them on one blue voice in ocean rights, and give them a chance to weigh in. And another good example of using technology for engagement. So I'd like to thank Ocean Race for convening such a great event and convening a group like this, and extend our commitment to continue to use innovation to create a more blue future. Thank you.
Are we feeling a little momentum? We're moving forward. We're seeing all of these different stakeholders and people from different sectors joining together to work toward a healthier ocean. Thank you again, Paul, for being here this evening. Now, Minister Marina Silva was hoping to be here with us tonight, but she's been held up at another event. So we're pleased to welcome another representative from Brazil to share the minister's message. Please welcome Her Excellency Ana Toni, the National Secretary of Climate Change for the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change of Brazil.
I'm really sorry to disappoint you all not to be Marina da Silva. It's really hard to substitute our minister, but I'll try my best. She does send her regards, and unfortunately, she has not been able to be here with us. Every time we think about Brazil, every time we go and speak in normally environmental meetings of this kind, people ask us about the Amazon, about the green Amazon. The Amazon that everybody has heard, everybody wants to know. And I'm really, really happy to say that since Marina da Silva is there as the minister and President Lula has joined the government, we have been able to diminish deforestation in the green Amazon in Brazil by 48% in the last 8 months. That means we have been avoided to send to the sky more than 200 million tons of carbon. And this is absolutely vital for the climate and for the oceans. But very little people think, when they think about Brazil, they think about the blue Amazon, which is also our ocean. Brazil has around 4.5 million kilometers of ocean in our exclusive zone. Now we have 8.5 thousand kilometers of ocean zones that in the beaches of Brazil. So the oceans for Brazil is as important for the green Amazon. The blue Amazon is also very, very important. But we don't have, at the moment, as much effort, commitment from both inside and outside on the blue Amazon. But we are doing a lot, and I will tell you a little bit what we have been doing since the new government took over. First, as I just mentioned, we have a president that has declared zero deforestation of the green Amazon by 2030. This will be the first time that we have such a commitment, and I'm sure that we will be delivering this zero deforestation. We have also already decided, Brazil has been very, very engaged in the 30-30 target of the Biodiversity Convention. And I'm happy to say that on marine protection, we already have 26.3% of our oceans being protected by protected areas in the Amazon, but we are committed to get at least the other 7% or 3.7% that we needed. We have also been very, very engaged since we are in the government to the instruments to stop plastic pollution on the oceans. But I wanted to finalize, because I can see my time is getting quickly over, that in terms of this new government, we are going to be doing one thing that I hope every country should do, most of the countries in the world, and I am the National Secretary for Climate Change, and most of the countries in the world have not included in their NDCs, in their climate commitment, protection of the oceans, both on mitigation and adaptation. So I really hope that every country will bring protection for adaptation and mitigation to their NDCs, to their new commitments of the NDCs, and Brazil will do so in our next commitment. And last, I wanted to invite you all for COP30 that will take place in Brazil in 2025. That is going to happen in Belém. Belém is a city that is in the Amazon and has half of its territory in the continent. And the other half of Belém is made of 42 small islands. So Belém is a very symbolic city for us that brings the oceans and the green and the blue Amazon together, will be the center of the world. So let us bring this debate about the rights of the ocean to COP30 and make sure that we get that done in 2 years' time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for joining us and for all the good news that's happening in Brazil. Now, I'd like to welcome the United Nations Secretary General's Special Envoy for the Ocean and co-chair of Friends of Ocean Action. He's also co-founded the Relay for Nature, which is with our race chairman, Richard Brisius. Please welcome Ambassador Peter Thompson.
Oh, there's Rama. I've been looking for you. I'll catch you at the end of this meeting. Hey guys, I am so excited to be in this room. You know why? This is where SDG 14 was actually born, in this room. Yeah, it was days, weeks, months, actually years for us to bring it into existence. And I remember the time that the chairman was sitting up there and he said, we're going to cut out probably 5 of the SDGs. There's too many of them. And so those that want to speak up for certain issues, and he was a friend of mine, he looked down and I was sitting there, and he gave me a bit of a wink. You have to speak up today, otherwise they're going to be cut. And I spoke, and some of the other small island developing states ambassadors spoke, and SDG 14 was actually saved that day. And I just see Kamau sitting there. So it's so exciting to be back in this room. Look, I want to thank the Government of Cabo Verde. I see they've left now, but what a great place. If you haven't been to Cabo Verde, please go, Mindelo in particular. And thank them and IUCN and the Earth Law Center and UNDP and the 11th Hour Racing for this event. And to Danny, who's busy talking what's going to be the next thing, for your positive energy. You're just great. Everywhere you go, you just keep us all out. And I want to celebrate the achievements of the Relay for Nature, Nature's Baton. I'm sure most of you know about this. It's the symbol of our struggle to make peace with nature. It's been around the world from summit to summit, from conference to conference, and it's been carried now by thousands of people, especially to have photographs taken with it, I guess, because it sees the public attention wherever it's gone. It's carried messages inside here. This is actually a tube from presidents to prime ministers, and all with the same message that we're in trouble, we're all connected, we're going to get out of this, but we have to work hard to get out of it, and we've got to do it together. So that's Nature's Baton. And I really want to thank the hundreds of people who have been involved in its peripatetic voyages around the world. You know, on a personal note, I'm obviously from Fiji. I'm fifth generation Fijian. And I was born on the main island in Fiji, but my mother had to come the week before I was born from where we were living at the time, which is up in the far north of Fiji, and came through a terrible storm to be there. She nearly drowned me with her. And from that time to this, I've obviously been very closely connected with the ocean. And I want to say that, you know, people say to me, you know, why do you love the ocean so much? Actually, it's not love, it's respect. I really respect the ocean. Some of the worst times in my life have been out at sea, and some of the best times have been out at sea. But all along, it's like you're in this mighty element, which is the great element of this planet. And so it's all about respect. So I think this is very relevant when you start thinking about ocean rights, because, I'm getting a sign here saying, please finish now. So I don't know, what did I do with this? Don't get too anthropogenic is my message to you. Remember, the ocean's going to be here long after Homo sapiens is gone. But obviously, we have a responsibility while we're here to try and improve things, because we've been doing pretty badly up to now in terms of what we've been doing in the ocean. So here we go then, I'll finish. My message to you all is just keep raising the awareness, keep fighting for ocean rights, because in the end, as I just said, we're doing it for our own existential reasons that we're fighting for ocean rights. The demand of intergenerational justice is that we make peace with nature. And if you think of nature as life, the seas are where the remedies lie, for over 90% of the living space on this planet is in the ocean. So, cheer up.
Thank you, Ambassador Thompson, and we'll see you in just a few minutes. But we are getting very close to the end of our program tonight. I can feel the antsiness, everybody's getting hungry, but we're almost there. Thank you for your attention. Now, I'm pleased to announce and welcome the former Deputy Prime Minister of Sweden, as well as the co-chair of Friends of Ocean Action, Isabella Lövin.
Excellencies, Friends of the Ocean. A few weeks ago, I met a very energetic young boy. He's 5 years old. His name is Einar, and he already knows what he wants to be when he grows up, a marine biologist. He's completely fascinated by all the life forms in the ocean, and he told me about the brittle stars, and he told me they got 5 eyes. I didn't know that, so I checked it up, and actually he was right. You know, they have some kind of photoreceptors on each of their 5 arms. But sadly enough, I knew another thing about the brittle stars that I didn't tell Einar, because I spoke with some Swedish scientists a while ago, and they made experiments with different marine creatures, seeing how they react to the acidic environment of our ocean that we expect in a few decades. And sadly enough, when Einar turns 30, there will be no more brittle stars. The ocean in the North Sea will simply be too acidic for them to survive. And I didn't tell him about overfishing either. I didn't tell him about all the plastic pollution and all the other threats to the ocean that we have caused so far. The magnitude of the problems of our ocean is really overwhelming. And as a global community, we've tried to manage and regulate the ocean for some 40 or 50 years now, but we actually failed so far. It hasn't worked. Maybe because we're trying to manage the ocean, when we must realize that the only thing we can manage is ourselves. In order to manage ourselves, it's evident that we need new ethics, new norms. Recognizing the inherent right of the ocean means seeing the ocean as a living entity, not as a resource to exploit. Such ethics would give us a new perspective to drive the development and effectiveness of laws. It would improve coordination of our obligations to relevant conventions. It would foster a new global vision, helping us to implement the 30 by 30 target, for instance. This can be done, and you can all be part of the solution. The first step is to support the inclusion of ocean rise in the Omnibus resolution this fall here at the United Nations. Thereby you support not only the right for brittle stars to exist, but also all the future generations' rights to be amazed by the wonder, beauty, and generosity of our living ocean. And I trust you to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Isabella. And can we join in another round of applause for Isabella and all of our wonderful speakers tonight? You've been an electric audience, and we'd love to hear from you and your experience with us. We'd love it if you'd fill out our feedback form. You can scan it with your smartphone quickly, and just let us know what you thought worked tonight, what was exciting, what stood out to you, and how you plan to contribute to our movement toward ocean rights. Now, when we started this evening, I asked you to imagine a world where both people and nature can thrive as one. Now, after we've heard from all of our incredible speakers, I'd like you to imagine something else. Imagine a world where each of us join in on this mission to recognize ocean rights. There are simple actions that you can take to join this wave, and let the joy that you heard tonight, the ocean empathy, the excitement, let that be the driver to help you create change. You can engage your local leaders, you can raise your voice for the ocean in your own community, in your state, in your county, your nation. And we also heard from the Prime Minister of Cabo Verde and Isabella that they are excited, Cabo Verde is excited to announce that they're putting forward a proposal for the omnibus resolution to all permanent missions, to encourage all permanent missions to the United Nations who are here in this room tonight. We want your support to help push that omnibus resolution forward. Tonight wouldn't have been possible without the help of our co-organizers, 11th Hour Racing, UNDP, especially Marshawn and Boaz, thank you so much. The Government of Cabo Verde, Earth Law Center, and IUCN. And of course, thank you to our premier partners of the Ocean Race, 11th Hour Racing once again, and Volvo Cars. And a special warm thank you to our translators who have been translating for us tonight, volunteers, and the entire Ocean Race Summits team that are in this room. Now, to close out our program, let's take a look at this final video about Relay for Nature and the global journey of nature's baton.
We need to go from words to action.
There is a big division between what we say and what we do.
There cannot be a healthy planet without a healthy ocean.
Our ocean is in trouble, but if we combine ambition, dedication, and hope, we can change these outcomes.
The concept was to bring all these together, the biodiversity loss, the climate change, the declining ocean's health, and these conferences happening around the world.
I encourage you to be advocates for our blue planet.
Every decision will be fundamental. We need more protected areas.
We are really at a critical time, and we must move forward and put the solutions in place that already exist.
Protect the ocean as if our very lives depend on it, because they do.
Listen to the youth, listen to indigenous people, listen to people most affected, and do what you have to do now.
The decision-making time is upon us.
It's an urgent issue, it's a climate crisis.
Ending the ocean emergency, it is a race we can win.
The ocean needs rules and needs rights.
We're finding it really important to test water microplastics as we're seeing more and more of it.
The message of our team is centered around ocean health. We understand why this is so important.
It stands for ocean rights, and in the end it's about the health of the ocean.
The ocean should have rights. It is really important to speak up because people don't realize how huge harm usage of plastic causes to our oceans.
We must preserve the ocean, we must take care of it.
Now, I'm proud to say that Nature's Baton, as you saw before with Ambassador Thompson, it's made the journey all the way here around the world to the United Nations. And so I'd like to re-invite Ambassador Thompson back up here to the front. And I'm also happy to welcome Charlie Enright, skipper of 11th Hour Racing Team, as he delivers Nature's Baton. Now, Charlie, while we're going to talk to you in just a moment, we'd like all of our speakers to join us behind us on the stage, if you would, please. Charlie, it's a special moment right now. How do you feel about it, and what is the symbolic meaning to this moment?
Well, somehow I stole this back from Peter between when he spoke and right now, just so that I can present it back to him right now. But I've sailed over 25,000 miles with this baton, from Brazil to France, from Brazil to Newport, from Newport to France. And for it to be here today in the United Nations is a wonderful thing. So we'd like to present it to you to continue the mission for the inherent rights of the ocean.